At the Baptist Foundation of Alabama, we have a real simple big picture guideline. We want to be as technologically sound as anybody in the secular world that provides similar size that provides the services we do. We want to have an academically sound institutional investment management process. You'll see more about that today. And then focus on ministry and development. And ministry to us is serving those clients that have a relationship with us. And of course, development, we talked about last year, for those of you who were there, is it's an unbelievable opportunity for people to realize that as they leave this world, there's a chance to make a significant difference in the lives of Teresa and others using a portion of their resources. And Alabamians are extremely generous people. But back to the investment side, which is what we're talking about today. I'm so grateful for all the investment managers who take the time and to be here with us, to share with us, because we have some great investment managers that you'll hear from. I also want to introduce John Ashworth, who's going to come up here after a short video that I'm going to show in just a minute. John is our Chief Administrative Officer. John likes details. Some people like details, some people don't. You investment guys, you all like detail. Some of us, we do it, but it's painful for us. Y'all just can't appreciate that, but it's painful details. John likes details. That's a good thing for a Chief Administrative Officer. So John, in addition to being responsible for every relationship administratively we have, with $260 million in assets, 2,000 plus accounts, 200,000 plus transactions every year, there's a lot going on operationally. And John oversees that. And then when Nathan McCarthy, who many of you know, left to head up the South Carolina Foundation, left, we sent him as a missionary to South Carolina. Then John just added that to his tasks. So he does a great job, and John will come up here and share with you the importance of details in a moment. But I want you to watch this short video, if you will, that tells a little bit about what we do. While we think it's extremely, extremely important to take care of these little things, we know the reason we're doing it is because of the big things. Like we heard this morning, like Teresa. And since we began, you'll see this in the video, there's been more than $330 million sent out across the world to have an impact on lives. So join me in watching this video, and then John will come up to share with us.
The passion of your Baptist Foundation of Alabama remains unchanged. A passion to serve you, Alabama Baptist individuals, churches, and associations. To help you connect the resources God has given you to the purposes He has laid on your heart, so He can multiply what He has entrusted to you for His glory. Your faithfulness to God's vision of reaching people for Christ allowed us to continue to grow, and today we serve as manager of over $250 million. Together, we were able to give away approximately $15 million as directed by you, the donors. That means that over $350 million have been distributed to local, national, and global ministries since our foundation was started. Last year, we saw dozens of new Baptist churches and charitably minded individuals across Alabama join in our belief that God's money should be invested in a biblically responsible way. We remove businesses from your portfolio engaging in activities that may be in direct conflict with your Christian values, because we believe, like you do, that it is God's money given by God's people for God's purposes and for His glory. One of the greatest investments we can make as Christians is to train and equip the next generation of young leaders to become world changers for Christ. With more than 100 scholarship funds for Alabama Baptist students, we were proud to award over $400,000 to 513 students on behalf of generous donors like you. We also sent money to Alabama Baptist churches and other entities, bringing the total to $780,000 in scholarship distributions this past year. Alabama Baptist Impact for Christ continues to spread across the globe as more of you consider one of the most overlooked and potentially most important financial decisions you will ever make. As a legacy giver, you understand the largest financial gift to God's work most of us can ever undertake happens when we step into heaven. So it continues to be our privilege to partner with Alabama Baptist churches and equip them to offer free Christian estate planning to their members. This year, 33 new churches engaged in legacy ministry with the foundation, and 118 families considered leaving a gift to ministry from their last will and testament, resulting in $45 million in future kingdom dollars. Since 2010, this brings the total to more than 500 families that have completed planning with the foundation, resulting in $204 million in future gifts to their local church and domestic and international ministries. Last year was the most impactful in our history for the expansion of God's kingdom, and we give Him all the glory. We are thankful for what God accomplished last year, and we look forward to what His future holds in the years to come.
All right, well, thank you, Barry, and good morning, everyone. It is my privilege to be here with you this morning to share for just a few minutes about the Baptist Foundation of Alabama. But before I do, let me just take a quick second and reiterate what Barry said and say welcome. From our staff and our board, we just want to say welcome not only to the forum, but also to the Alabama Gulf Coast. We have an uninvited visitor in Hurricane Michael, but you all are certainly not uninvited. We are glad that you are here, so thank you for choosing to spend some time with us. I'd also like to say a couple of quick thank yous, if I could. Thank you to our staff. First of all, this event takes a lot of work by a lot of people, mainly the ladies in the back, Stephanie and Connie and Sarah, who honestly did most of the work, so I'm very thankful for them and all of our staff. I also want to say thank you to our money managers for being here. They do so much to help us achieve our mission here at the Foundation. And if they were not here today, there'd be very little reason for us to be here today, so we are so thankful for them. You'll hear from them in a moment as part of the Investors Roundtable, which is always a highlight of this event every year. But as Barry said, today, I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about details, because at the Baptist Foundation of Alabama, we think that attention to detail is an important part of almost any aspect of life. I'm not sure if you would agree or not, but we think that because we know that details matter. When details are missed, bad things can happen, and sometimes very bad things can happen. For example, in April of 1912, there was a certain ship by the name of the Titanic that was preparing to set sail from England to New York on its first ever voyage. And on the day they were set to leave, they actually had a last-minute change in crew. And the second officer, a gentleman by the name of David Blair, was actually transferred off of the Titanic to make room for a more senior officer in the shipping fleet that day. But when he stepped off the boat, he forgot one very important detail that we'll come back to in just a moment. But as you probably realize, ships back then didn't have the sophisticated navigational equipment they do today, and a critical part of almost any voyage was the crow's nest. And this is an actual picture of the crow's nest from the Titanic before it set sail. But the crow's nest was manned at all times by 2 sailors. They were rotated every 2 hours to keep them fresh, and it was their job to look out on the horizon and report to the bridge anything that might cause the Titanic trouble, whether it be weather or other ships, or, in the case of this voyage, icebergs. And in that crow's nest, there was actually a box that held a set of very powerful binoculars to give those lookouts the best chance they could to see what was far off that might impact the ship. And those binoculars were so important that they were actually locked in that box so they wouldn't walk off or be misplaced. But when David Blair was transferred off that ship and walked off that day before they set sail, in his breastcoat pocket was the key to that lockbox. So on this voyage, all the lookouts had to rely on was their naked eye. Could it be that if he had not missed that detail, if he had left that key behind, or his replacement had thought to get that key from him, that those lookouts could have seen that iceberg and the 1,500 souls that were lost that day could have been spared? Well, we'll never know, I guess, but I think the implication is clear. Details matter. They mattered that day on the Titanic, and we think they also matter to God. Our God is a God of detail. He knows us all down to the very hairs in our head. We think that He is counted, on Scripture, Jesus tells us that He's counted every hair on the head of every person in this room and also every person on earth. And with over 7 billion people on earth, that's trillions and trillions of hairs that our God has counted. But What a great reminder that our God loves us and knows us intimately. He knows us minutely, and even though a single human hair is of very little value, not one falls to the ground outside of his notice. And so, because details are important to God, they're also important to us at the Baptist Foundation of Alabama, because we know that if we don't take care of the details, it negatively impacts our results and won't achieve the goals that our clients are looking for. So we spend a lot of time on detail. And so today I'd like to walk you through just a few of the things that we monitor every day, a few of the details we monitor every day for our clients, not at all to pat ourselves on the back, but because we know that every day we are dealing with God's money given by God's people for God's purposes and for his glory. And because of that, details matter. That is a high calling, and we want to be found worthy of the calling placed on us not only by God, but also by our clients. So the beginning of any relationship with a client at the Baptist Foundation of Alabama is opening an account. And this is an actual document that we use in our office, it's our account opening spreadsheet. And you'll see there are 36 distinct items, 36 distinct details that our staff goes through every time we open an account, just to make sure everything is in order and no detail is missed. And this could pass into the hands of as many as 8 of our staff, again, just to make sure that everything is in order when we establish a new account. But then once an account is established, we have the privilege of helping our clients select the best investment vehicle to meet their needs. And as part of that, we believe we have a stewardship responsibility, because we know that we, like our clients, one day will stand before God and answer for the way that we manage the money that he entrusted to us. And we know that we, like our clients, don't want to stand before him one day and say that we invested in things that did not bring him honor, did not bring him glory. And so because of that, well, we screen our portfolio. We remove those things that we think don't align with our faith, things like alcohol, abortion, pornography, tobacco. Because ultimately we agree with Peter Buckley, a pastor in the 1500s, who said, if God be God over us, we must yield him universal obedience in all things. He must not be over us in one thing and under us in another, but he must be over us in everything. Or as we like to say, if the Lord is Lord of our life, he should be Lord of our investments also. So with our stewardship responsibility as a backdrop, let me just remind you for a moment about the 4 legs of our investment philosophy. None of these stand on their own. They're all interconnected, but they come together to form the heart of our investment process here at the Baptist Foundation. The first is the importance of asset allocation. We have some great managers that help us manage money for our clients, but we know that if we don't allocate assets correctly between things like equities and fixed income or alternatives, we won't achieve the results our clients are looking for. So before we think about manager selection, the first thing we think of is asset allocation. Second is the importance of downside protection, or said another way, how are we preparing our clients for the volatility that we know is coming? We think we have a responsibility to help our clients protect their principal, and as part of that, we spend a lot of time thinking about downside protection. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Third, transparency is essential. And to us, that means a couple of things. First, we require transparency from our managers. If we ask what we own or we have questions, we expect them to answer promptly, because if we don't know the right answers, we can't allocate assets and we can't protect the downside appropriately. But also for our clients, they should expect transparency from us. If they have a question, we should be able to answer it for them in a timely manner as well. And finally, something that lays across all of these is we want to match investments to clients' objectives, obviously. We have an endowment fund that we think does a great job for a lot of our longer-term clients, but it's not going to be perfect for everybody. So we want to get in and understand the details of our clients' needs so that we can match that investment accordingly. Currently, our clients have 4 funds to choose from: the endowment fund, the equity fund, the income fund, and the bond fund. And under the hood of each one of these, our money managers are spending a tremendous amount of time going through detail themselves on their investments as part of their investment process. But before a client ever invests in a fund, we have done a ton of detailed work as well on our side. Again, just to make sure that all the details are addressed and everything is done well for our clients. So once an account is opened, then it is invested, then it must be obviously maintained. And we have a great staff in the back office that takes this responsibility very seriously and deals with a ton of detail every day. And here are just a few of the details we address for our clients on a daily basis. And then, even though these accounts are established and invested and maintained, we think that oversight is also a critical part of success. And so, while our staff and our managers spend a lot of energy making sure all the details are handled, we think the oversight part of it is just as important. And so as part of that, as you would expect, every year we enter into a contract with a third-party auditor to review our results under the purview of our audit committee. And our staff can attest that they go through a lot of detail with these auditors on our 2,000-plus accounts every year, but it's something we think is very important. We also have a great investment committee of the board made up of seasoned investment professionals who meet at least quarterly to review our results, to review our downside protection, our asset allocation. Again, a lot of detail to make sure we're on track and we have good oversight as part of that process. And finally, every year we also choose to go through a certification process with an entity called the ECFA, the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability. This is a group founded in the 1970s by Billy Graham, and they keep us accountable not only from a financial perspective, but also from a spiritual perspective to make sure we're maintaining a good witness for Christ, because we want to be in line with what the Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians and take great pains to do what is right, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of men. And so we go through all of this detail to make sure we're serving our clients well, because we know that if we drop the ball, bad things happen. And we want to make sure that we don't do that for sure. So speaking of dropping the ball, I'm not sure if there are any college baseball fans in the room, or if anybody watched the College World Series this summer. But if you did not, let me just set the stage for you for a moment. Arkansas was playing Oregon State in a best-of-3 series. Arkansas won the first game. And in the second game, in the top of the ninth, they were winning 3-2, and they had 2 outs. They needed one more out to win the first college baseball championship in Arkansas's history. Let's see what happened.
Popped up. Maybe playable. Shaddy's over there, so's Gates. Tough play. Nobody gets it. Wow. An extra life for Caden Grenier. Hit and through, and we are tied. Caden Grenier delivers. Oregon State is alive and well. And the pop-up that Arkansas couldn't catch leads us to this. What a performance by Caden Grenier. Third hit of the night. Arnick's 18 homers leads the team. Gets one to hit, drives it to right. This one is deep. This one is gone. Trevor Larnach's 19th, and Oregon State roars to the top here in the ninth. They now lead it 5-3.
Kind of hard to watch. But they went on to lose that game, obviously. And unfortunately for Arkansas, they went on to lose the third game as well. So Oregon State won the College World Series when Arkansas was 1 out away from being champions. So I apologize to any Arkansas fans in the room for making you relive that. But again, I think there's a great lesson for us. How many times have those guys practiced that pop fly since they started training in the spring? How many times they tracked the detail of who goes after the ball? What do they do with the ball after they get it? How do they communicate? Where does the ball go after they've caught it? So many details, but a detail was missed, and they did not miss their goals. They did not meet their goals, they missed them. And so what a great reminder for us, and a great motivator for us to make sure that we are doing all we can to have great performance for our clients. So speaking of performance, since we do spend a lot of time on details, we think you should expect good performance from us, so let's see how we're doing. This is the last 3 years, each of our 4 funds. You'll see the equity fund in green, in orange the endowment fund, then the bond fund, and the income fund in blue and yellow, respectively. I'd say these results are pretty much what you would expect. The equity fund, which takes the most risk, has the highest return. Endowment fund somewhere in the middle, and the bond fund and income fund on the lower end of the risk spectrum are also on the lower end of the return spectrum. But let's take a deeper dive into our endowment fund. This is the only fund we have that utilizes all of our managers, and this is a 3-year look. As you'll see on the vertical axis, you have rate of return. On the horizontal axis, risk. The green triangle is our endowment fund, and then the gray dot is its benchmark. So if you look down below, you'll see that the returners are pretty much on top of each other. The endowment fund about 7%, the benchmark about 7.30. Our return is actually net of fees. The benchmark is gross of fees, so they approximate each other roughly. But look at the next column over, the standard deviation. We've been able to achieve roughly the same amount of return with about 25% less risk. I think the story we really want to tell is in the up capture and down capture columns right there. All that really says is on the up capture, when the benchmark has been up $100, we've only been up about 86. So because of the downside protection we've built into the portfolio, we're not going to participate fully on the upside in a hot market. But take a look at the down capture. When the endowment benchmark has been down $100, we've only been down 67. And that's really where the downside protection we talk about being so important really comes to life for our clients. Let's take a little bit longer view. This is since inception. Since 2010, you'll see the results are fairly similar, return right on top of each other, less risk taken, and the up capture and the down capture, you'll see there, kind of in line with what you saw over a 3-year period. So we're very pleased with these results. We obviously hope our clients are as well. But I'd like to close my time, if I could, with one of my favorite sermons on God in detail. The foundation, our money managers track a ton of details every day for our clients, but we know we serve a God that tracks so many more. So you're about to hear from Louis Giglio, who is the pastor of Passion City Church in Atlanta, Georgia. And he reminds us in this short clip that God is at work in every single detail, from the creation of the universe to even the smallest part of our human bodies. So I hope you find this encouraging.
The tour was winding down last time around. We were in Tyler, Texas. The night was over. A guy walks up to me. I wish I could tell you the whole story. It was so of God. Introduces himself to me, says, "How are you doing?" I just wanted to say hello. I said, "It's nice to meet you." He says, "You guys winding the tour down? Where are you going to go from here?" I said, "Well, I'm on my way back home to Atlanta, Georgia." He said, "Well, what's next for you?" I said, "I'm going to be preaching the next 2 Sundays for my pastor back in Atlanta." He said, "Oh, cool. What are you preaching on?" I said, "Well, the series is on the glory of God in the human body." He said, "That's really amazing. I'm a molecular biologist at the university down the road. Give me your talk." And I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't quite yet ready to unload the talk for a molecular biologist. So I kind of stumbled through what I had, and he's kind of being kind and gracious and like, that's good. And then he says, "Well, what's your big left hook? You got to have a left hook, a big finish, right?" I said, "I don't have a left hook yet." He said, "Oh, Louis, oh man, your left hook is laminin." And I'm totally blank on laminin. He goes, "Louis, it's a cell adhesion molecule. Protein molecule? Do you know about proteins?" I'm like, "No." He said, "Louis, cells organize into certain molecular structures, and that determines what protein there are. There are between 10 and 60,000 proteins in the human body. We don't even know how many proteins are in the human body. But one of them is a cell adhesion molecule. It's organized into this certain structure, and that tells the cell what its job is in the body. And this one is a cell adhesion molecule." And I'm like, "All right." He said, "No, Louis, it's like the rebar of the human body. The steel they put in the concrete when they lay the foundations of things, it's that stuff. It's holding your membranes together. It's the glue of the human body, Louis. It's laminin. You got to tell them about laminin." And I'm like, "I promise you, I'm going home and tell them about laminin. And I'm sure when I do, revival is going to sweep across the church and probably around the world when I tell them." He said, No. You got to see laminin." I'm like, "Okay, let's see it." He said, No. You need to go look it up online. You need to go Google laminin. Like, I don't even know how to spell laminin. Takes his card out. He writes on the back, Laminin. I'm like, okay, I cannot wait to get to my computer and get on Google, click on images, type in laminin, and I'm waiting, and these little thumbnails come up on the screen, and I'm like, wow. That's laminin? The cell adhesion molecule. Woo! I am so excited. I am beside myself. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I love laminin. I'm so fired up. You should see laminin, I guess. That's the thing, right? Okay. Here is a scientific diagram of the laminin cell adhesion molecule that's holding your body together right now, okay? This is what I found right here. No, come on, that's crazy. That's just crazy. I just can't believe it. I I emailed that guy back so fast, I'm like, wow, 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 what in the world? He said, you want to see an actual laminin molecule? I'm like, oh no, man, the diagram was cool for me. I'm happy with that. Don't bother sending anything else. I'm like, yes! And he sends me this image, an electron microscopic image of an actual laminin protein molecule. It looks just like this. I'm like, how crazy is that? That the stuff that holds our bodies together, that's holding the lining of your organs together, holding your skin on, is in the perfect shape of the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. So you're at the toughest place in your life. How can you know that God is going to hold you together and bring you through? You know because there is a cross standing over history, and it is looming over this building tonight. It is the place where the star breather became the sin bearer, where the universe maker became mankind's savior. And it is proof that God doesn't always change the circumstances. He did not change them for Jesus on that hillside outside Jerusalem. But the cross is also proof that God always has a purpose in the circumstances, and that His purpose and His plan will prevail and will triumph through any circumstances in this world.
So I'd just like to say thank you all again for being here today. And no matter how you're connected to our ministry, please know what a privilege it is to be partnered with you as we serve the Lord together. Right now we have time for a break. We'll reconvene at 8:30. There's still refreshments in the hall, but thank you so much.